At Development Reimagined, we're testing fresh ways to share Africa's economic story. Season 1 of our new short fictional series follows two women finance ministers as they fight for objective, data driven credit ratings.
Minister Thembi, good morning. Thanks for picking up so early. We just got downgraded again by global credit assessors. They're citing macroeconomic instability, but we both know our fundamentals are stronger than that.
Good morning, Minister Nima. I'm sorry to hear that. Uhuru faced a similar downgrade last quarter. Our interest rates skyrocketed. Did they mention your infrastructure projects or your informal sector?
Barely. According to Africa No Filter, African economies can lose billions due to this Africa risk perception. Our informal sector alone constitutes a significant slice of our GDP. None of it's factored in.
It's a continent-wide issue. They downgraded us by 2 notches. Meanwhile, non-African countries with similar debt-to-GDP ratios aren't labeled junk. It's costing us precious funds we could invest in healthcare and education.
We need a strategy, Thembi. For starters, we must invest in local data and refine our regulatory frameworks, so these agencies can't ignore our real progress.
Absolutely. If we strengthen our national statistics offices, we'll have high-quality data at our fingertips. Then, CRAs can't say they don't have enough reliable local information.
Exactly. Let's outline next steps. Shall we talk solutions in detail?
Yes. Let's figure out a joint approach. Something that can help all African nations, not just Wakanda and Uhuru. Nima, about local data. It's not enough to gather it. We also need robust regulatory measures. If we have a national or regional authority overseeing how CRAs use our data, they'll be less likely to rely on outdated formulas.
Yes, like a pan-African body similar to the European Securities and Markets Authority, ESMA, one that can hold CRAs accountable. They'd have to justify their ratings if they ignore accurate, up-to-date local data. And let's also keep in mind the African Credit Rating Agency, AFCRA, a great example of African countries working together to build a more balanced and context-driven rating framework.
That would prevent them from labeling every challenge as a crisis. As Olabisi and Stein point out, when CRAs dismiss on-the-ground realities, African countries pay a premium of 2.9% more on average in interest. A regulatory body could curb that bias.
Agreed. And speaking of big agencies, what do we do about the big three, that is, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, S&P, and Fitch ratings? They dominate the market and shape global perceptions. This is where coordinating reforms is critical. If only 1 or 2 finance ministers push for change, it won't be enough.
True. But if multiple African finance ministries coordinate, we can press the big three to revisit their methodologies, especially the ones that exaggerate political risk in Africa and impose an unfair Africa risk premium.
Let's do it. We can propose a collective statement at the next regional summit. We'll call on the big three to engage directly with African policymakers and incorporate updated governance and economic indicators from our local data sets. But, Thembi, it's interesting how ratings can differ drastically depending on the agency. Did you see the recent data showing that Chinese CRAs systematically give higher or better sovereign ratings to African countries compared to the big three?
Yes, I did. The gap can be as large as 5 or more notches for certain countries, like Ethiopia or Ghana. It's a major contrast, and it really highlights how varied risk assessments can be when you shift the underlying methodology.
Exactly. And it proves that how agencies perceive and measure risk can have enormous impacts on the final rating. If Chinese CRAs can recognize certain growth indicators or context-specific factors, it makes you wonder why the big three can't or won't do the same.
Yes, plus we highlight the creation of that supervisory body. If the big three see we're serious about dispute resolution and transparent methodologies, they might finally revise how they assess African countries.
We have to ensure they don't just pay lip service. This call for reform should be backed by strong political will. Otherwise, we're stuck with the same cycle of downgrades.
I just received a message that a few other finance ministers want to jump on board. They have similar concerns. Remember, Development Reimagined found that from 2011 to 2024, at least 29 statements across 12 African countries argued against CRA decisions.
Perfect. Let's finalize our joint approach and gather their inputs. We can't let these ratings define our future. Thembi, I've drafted a shared policy outline. It highlights 3 key solutions. 1. Investing in local data and regulation to improve CRA's accuracy and accountability. 2. Establishing supervisory bodies to ensure fairness, possibly at a continental level. 3. Coordinating Big Three reforms, pressing the major agencies to address their Africa risk perception collectively.
This looks strong. It shows we're not just complaining, we have concrete steps. When we present this at the summit, it'll demonstrate Africa's united front.
And each country can adapt it to their context. Some have advanced statistical systems, others are ramping up. But as a whole, we'll demand CRAs use comprehensive local insights or face accountability through a pan-African regulatory mechanism.
The synergy is crucial. The Big Three often claim they lack reliable data in Africa. If we invest in our own data collection agencies, that excuse disappears. Then our supervisory body can step in if they still fail to adjust.
Yes, and pushing them collectively is the only way to end cyclical downgrades and inflated interest rates. Imagine how many roads, hospitals, and schools we could build if we weren't overpaying for loans.
Exactly. Let's finalize the statement. We'll invite any African finance minister interested in cutting that risk premium to join. If we go in with a unified voice, the Big Three can't ignore us.
Agreed. I'll circulate the final draft to you and the others tonight. Then we coordinate interviews with international media, so the world knows Africa is proactive, not merely a victim.
We're redefining the narrative, Nima. When we take ownership of our data, regulate how CRAs operate, and stand together on reform demands, we're writing a new chapter in African development finance.
Couldn't have said it better, Thembi. Now let's seal the deal.
Onward, then. I'll see you at the summit with a stronger, united front.
Yes. Together, we'll ensure Africa's voice is heard in global finance. Talk soon.